Hey everybody! On this episode of Gaming and Collecting, we're returning back to our ongoing anime swaps series with another episode, this time discussing the shows Zom 100 and Sandland. Doing our normal shtick, we've watched both shows and we're gonna give our thoughts on each. So this will be fun. And anyways, guys, on with the intro music. So, how you been?
No, I don't want to. I don't want to, Ben. I don't want to, Ben. How have you not been?
Well, it's been a weekend. I would say it's been a week, but that's just typical at this point. Um, yeah, it straight up like was sunny all morning and then just fucking downpoured for like the last like couple hours.
Yeah, it was funny because Bill and I were out, and then like as soon as we got back, settled in, and then I was like, oh, it's downpouring now.
Well, at first I was like, it's getting really dark, and then all of a sudden I just like hear the thunder and just the sky opened up, and I was like, oh, that's fun.
It's weird. We've been having a lot of that, of like these random like bursts of like rain, thunder, lightning, and then it clears up. It's been really weird.
Yeah, weather's been strange. It's been it was a
Humid
long
today. It was
yeah
an adventure today.
yeah. Alex's cat is apparently a flight risk.
Yeah, I took Pooh to the groomer. She's a long-haired cat, so I took her to the groomer for the first time today. And I got some good. You can't see it, but Bill saw. I have some great battle scars on my arms. She she got a she scratched a callus off my hand, which is impressive. And like, so I have this cut on my hand. You didn't see it. I took it out. I switched the bandage out. Oh my god, it is so much deeper than I thought it was.
Yeah, you should watch that out.
I did. I did multiple times, but it's a little. She like got me good there on my finger, like in the middle between my fingers. But she went to the groomer. It was her first time, so they did like a consultation, and she's very skittish. She's still getting used to me, and getting used to everything. She's definitely a lot better than when I first got her, but she's still, adjusting. And she did not like the groomer, but they did give her a bath and they did brush her out quite a bit. So we didn't get to do a de-shed treatment, and we got the nails. So hallelujah.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
getting her in her damn carrier was probably the biggest challenge of the morning.
your face when you heard the scream was hilarious.
It just sounded I was like, that's an alien.
It's like it's a non-cat sound. Like it was just it's like she's like "Ah!" Like I can't even do it. Like it's like a yodel, but like a yell, like yodeling yell. Like it's very human and it's so freaking weird. Um
Yeah.
yeah, but Bill's face was great when she first did it. Your face was like, "What was that?" And she went under my bed, and then I eventually got her out from under my bed, and then Bill cornered her under my desk, and then we just kind of tapped her butt until she went right into the carrier.
Yeah. Typical cat stuff.
Yeah, it was a morning.
Yeah. And then we had to like because we couldn't go far because she was a flight risk, we had to basically hang out in the area and
Yes.
go to various stores,
Yeah, we went to like
including a Target where Alex rage quit.
yeah, it was just like I hate leaving, but I was like I didn't really need the item I was getting. And then we're sitting at the register, and then I'm seeing other people at the other register like get checked out and go, and I'm like, are you kidding? And the lady like she was nice, but she was just like she was chatting so much with the people before us that it was taking forever. And I was like, I just want to leave. Like I like don't care anymore. So then we switched registers. And then like of course the person walks away as soon as we go there. I'm like, are you kidding me? So I just was like, whatever. And I left it on the register and I just left it. I was like, I don't want it anymore. I was like, I don't need it that badly.
Just a full on rage quit. And it made me laugh because I was like, great.
Well, it wasn't a rage quit. It was more of just like
Oh yeah, I don't it was a silent rage.
I was just I was just like I don't know, like when you sit there and like someone is chatting and there's a line forming behind you and like they're just chatting with the customer in front of you and you're just like, please just check me out. I have one fucking item. I want to leave. And like I would have done self checkout, but it was one of those items that had a security thing. Like it wasn't. I was looking for an iPad case, so I had a security thing. So I legitimately I had to go in that one for them to remove it. But
Well, technically, you can go through self checkout. A person needs to come over and remove it. So it's like you're basically just it's like you basically just have to you get someone anyways.
well, that's like if I had multiple items, I would have done self checkout. But where I just had that one, I was like, I might as well just go in the thing.
Yeah, but
So
that's how luck always goes. You always pick the line that's going to be the slowest. Like
I
it's just how
know.
it goes.
I always do. And then I was like, whatever. I don't want this anymore. So I just said, fuck it. And I didn't buy it.
You know what the saddest part was though? We had moved over to the other thing and then you rage quit. But I looked back and that lady was still at the register that we were waiting behind.
Yep.
I was like, damn, like what the hell?
Yeah.
This is why I do self checkout because not to be mean, but I don't really want to talk to the cashiers like at all.
No, I get. I don't either. Sometimes I just want to like do my bagging, not talk to anyone, and leave. Like that's it. I'm just like in out, want to leave.
Especially when they're chatty, because it's like I don't want to be rude, but I really don't want to talk to you when I'm trying to check out.
Some days I want to chat, but some days I'm just like, I just don't want to talk. I just want to leave. I'm not being rude, but I just am feeling very introverted right now, and I don't want to chat with anyone. I want to leave. Yeah, it was one of those situations, but we eventually, went and got Pooh. She did pretty good for her first one. Her next one's not until September. So she's got a bit to relax. But then it was kind of late for breakfast, so then we were just like, why don't we just go get pizza? And then we just got pizza.
Yep.
We ate pizza for brunch. It was basically lunchtime at that point.
It was 11 o'clock. It was lunch at that point.
It was lunch at that point. So, and then I bought a lamp. I finally replaced my lamp.
You almost rage quit at the lamp too, though, because you were line was also slow.
Oh my god, it was I just couldn't take it. Some days you just can't. You can't do lines, and I was having one of those days.
Well, that one was unfortunately a case where like there was only 2 registers open, and both customers were like having issues, basically.
Yeah.
And what?
No, I was letting my rage out.
Yeah. We also went to Barnes and Noble, and I found manga that wasn't supposed to be out yet, and I love that about Barnes and Noble.
Best part about Barnes and Noble, you get that stuff. You get it.
Alex almost wanted to kick a child, so.
I mean, that's a normal occurrence, but anyways.
Yeah.
Anyways, guys, thanks so much for watching the Gaming and Collecting podcast.
You were so high pitched, I did not get a part of that.
How dare you mute? It's the game. Oh! I just had the blinky screen of doom.
Good. Anyways.
No.
So,
it's not podcast.
Are you alive?
Bill, you spelled podcast wrong. In the banner, it's GNC POODCAST Studios. Spelled podcast wrong. Podcast. Podcast. What are you drinking? I saw you were drinking something.
I have a Ranch Rita. It is a margarita ranch water because they were new, and I was like, that looks bizarre. I have to try it. And
we need more information, Bill.
They're a little sweeter than I like.
What about nutrition?
Oh, who gives a shit?
I want to know the calories. Tell me the calories.
I'm not doing this bit.
Tell me just the calories, please. The grams of sugar. Just tell me the grams of sugar.
I'm not looking that far.
Bill!
You almost had me to give you the calories, but then you had to ruin it by going too far. So.
No. Give me the calories. Give me the calories, please.
You ruined it.
Please. What was it called again?
They all have different.
Ranch. Water.
140. Can we move on, please?
Wait. You gotta ask me a question.
No.
Ask me a question.
What water are you drinking now?
I'm not drinking water, Bill. I am drinking a Down East
Oh, she's
Uh,
actually drinking for once.
lemon. I gotta treat myself. Lemon Italian ice, five
Well,
percent alcohol per volume.
you have to
Uh,
treat yourself because you're going to Texas next week, and Texas never goes well for
going
you.
to
So
Texas on Tuesday, and we're not going in with that mindset. We're going in with it's gonna be a good time. Okay,
fingers
I'm
crossed, because
fingers
Texas
crossed.
never seems to go
I
well.
mean, oh, you want to hear something funny? So the venue literally lost power today.
That's fun.
It's the first day of the competition and they lost power already. We know what this is gonna be like. Oh, it's gonna be something. But anyways, I forgot to say, what? Where are they?
Good.
Wait, where are the facts? Where's the nutrition?
It's
Where?
alcohol. There's no
Wait. Do, am I great? There's no
no.
facts.
You're so high pitched, I don't hear a word you're saying.
There's no
Good.
It's gluten free. 12 fluid ounces. You couldn't take this on a plane. According to the Surgeon General, women should not drink alcoholic beverages during pregnancy.
Yeah, I mean,
Don't drink Phil if you're pregnant.
don't worry, that ain't happening.
Where's this drink now?
Well, yep. So Alex is going to Texas, and I'm doing absolutely nothing because bills were this month.
No.
Oh, I
I know.
don't. I'm feeding your damn cat. Who cares?
And
Anyway,
you're cleaning her pooper. And you're
don't
watering my flowers. Thank
don't
you.
don't push your luck.
I appreciate you. I'm trying to tell you how much I appreciate. Look, I don't even I put the dad jokes book away, so no dad jokes today. I promise. I don't have it. I put the book away.
I will remove you from this call if you bring it out. So
No,
you.
no, just kidding. Kick me out now. Yeah. No, I
But yeah,
really don't have it with me. So no dad jokes today. But I did bring back the nutritional facts, even though I had no facts to bring back.
yeah. But Alex is going to Texas. I'm doing nothing other than stuff around here because
Bill's
bills were last month, and I have no money.
gonna practice his opera routine. He's auditioning for America's Got Talent. Right, Bill? He's
Not
shaking
even
his head yes. You can't
not
see
even
it, but he's
acknowledging
going
that.
yes. He's going yes. I'm an opera singer. Hiccup.
Hiccup. It's back.
One. It's back. Let's bring it back.
Yeah, I have to also save money because Kineticon's coming up. So
Bill, look.
yay, doing a visual gag that no one can see.
Shut up! I look like a hobo. I'm not potting while I have no makeup on. I'm sorry. None of you want to see that. It's hideous.
I don't think anyone actually cares, but
I care. Did you hear that?
yes.
Okay, I wasn't sure if the so if I talk in a deep voice really loud, it still picks it up, right?
For now.
Did you hear that? All right. Oh, did you hear that?
Yes.
Yay.
But anyways, so
But anyways, guys.
moving on. It's we've got a recurring segment that hasn't been we haven't done one of these in a while. Like the last
What was the last one we did?
I don't even remember. That's how long ago it was.
Shit.
Um
We
so
have
we're
both
doing
been very busy though. So
it's been that and just sitting down and watching an anime. So in case anyone's wondering, we're doing an anime swap. The first one, the second one of the season, and first
I
one
thought it
we've
was a
done.
cheese swap. And we recommended each other cheeses.
This joke isn't funny. So yeah, the last one we did was episode 160. We're at 181 right now. So
That's not that long ago.
that's over 20 episodes ago.
That's not that long ago. Could be more.
Yeah. But anyways, so we're doing the second anime swap of the season, which is fun. And we're covering two relatively new series. Like these, one of them is incredibly new, and the other one is fairly new, I want to say.
I mean, both of them are definitely newer shows. They're
Oh
not like
yeah, yeah. One of them came out this year, and the other one was 2023. So yeah, they're new.
yes.
So yeah, and for those who don't know, because it's been a while, Anime Swap is the series where we both recommend an anime to each other, and we watch them, and then we discuss. This isn't like we're not pitting, despite the way the title is formatted, we're not pitting the animes against each other. It's just we're sharing two animes the other has not watched, and we're going to discuss and
Yes.
share our
Making
thoughts.
them watch it.
Yeah, basically, it's a way to get us to watch animes, so our lists for our end of the year recap aren't completely tiny. Um, yeah. So we watched two shows this time, and we're going to start with Alex's show first. So,
Oh,
Alex, introduce.
all right. The show I picked was full title Zom 100 Bucket List of Dead. Zom 100 came out in December 2023. Um, it was animated by, let's see. It was licensed by Viz, and the studio was Bug Films. Have you ever heard of Bug Films before?
No, I have not. It's
Yeah.
interesting that it was licensed. So, what did you watch this on? Did you watch it on Hulu or Netflix?
I I thought I think I watched this on Crunchyroll.
Oh, I watched it on Netflix because I couldn't
I
find
think
it
this
on
is on
Crunchyroll.
Crunchyroll.
Oh,
I
maybe.
don't
Okay,
remember
so
where I watched it.
I guess you
Huh.
have options if you want to watch it. I particularly watched my watching was on Netflix. So, um,
I'm like curious now. I
but
could have sworn I watched it on Crunchyroll, but maybe I'm crazy. Oh, I was typing nothing. Anyways, we're just not going to search that then.
so
But yeah.
I did a little research while we were talking, and Bug Films also did the Apothecary Diaries.
Ah, which I also really enjoyed.
They, I guess, assisted with Comey Can't Communicate.
Oh,
Well, actually, this list isn't completely clear. They did a key animation for Apothecary. All right, this list isn't helpful.
all
Um,
right. We'll just say we haven't really heard of Bug Films before.
so they've done a lot of assistance and key animations. This is, I think, one of the first that they've actually produced the entirety of. So,
Okay, interesting. It also has a manga series. I believe the manga came out before the. Yeah, manga came out original run in October 2018. So it's been to present. So it's an ongoing series. So it was adapted a couple years after that.
hmm,
Uh,
17 volumes of licensed by Viz. It's actually a signature release too, which is kind of cool. Like the big higher quality volumes.
And yeah, and so the genre is comedy horror slash dystopian zombie apocalypse. If you didn't get the zom in the title, that kind of that it's a zombie show, but it's a pretty fun zombie show, I will say.
Hmm.
Because personally, for me, I do not like zombie things. That's not my thing. It kind of creeps me out. But this one was pretty fun. Especially, I mean, like just looking at the art for this show and like just some of the images you'll see when you search it, you do notice it's very
Colorful. This
colorful.
is a
It's
very
very bright
colorful
for
show.
it's very bright for a show where basically the world has gone to shit and it's a zombie apocalypse. But
See, I'm not gonna lie. The reason why I was hesitant to watch this to begin with was just because I am so fucking tired of zombie shit.
mhm.
It is fucking everywhere lately, and I'm just like, I'm sick of it. So when I first saw this, I was like, yeah, like zombie. Not sure how I feel about that.
But
Well, once you watch it, we'll get into it as we go. But this show is a quick watch, and it's very hard to put down.
yeah, and I'm sure there's going to be a season 2 follow up to
I
this.
think it's already been confirmed.
But the main character is Akira Tendo. He's a 24-year-old office worker. He basically like got a job right out of college, and he's kind of working for an extremely exploitative like company. Basically, like they're working him to the bone, and he's like basically working to this point of like depression, exhaustion that he just like hates everything.
I'm really
But he
glad I
does.
didn't watch this like a few months earlier because it would have been a little too real.
Oh, really?
Well, yeah, when we were like going through that really shit period of work, I would have like,
Oh, yeah. But he like when he first started like because it starts out when he first works there, he's like really driven and excited, and then it's kind of you enter that downward slope of everything sucks.
yeah, like
And you
like
just lose all motivation for everything.
it's kind of
Um,
like a loose like dig at the Japanese work culture a little bit.
yeah, but I mean, I kind of think I almost related to it. I mean, I think most of the viewers know I recently, well, not that recently now. It's been quite a few months now, but I quit my job and I got a new one. And a lot of the reasons I think I kind of connected was like I was honestly the same thing, working for a very exploitative company where I was kind of treated like shit, and I was not valued for who I was as a person. So I think I just kind of like related to it that like yeah, like I don't know, I think it helped me kind of get into the show more of like I really liked the character because I really understood the character
Well,
because
to
I
me,
was
like
feeling a lot of those things.
the moment that really hit me was like early on in the series where they go out drinking and you think, oh, okay, it's gonna calm down, and then they're right after they finish their meal and drinks, they're like, all right, back to work, and they immediately go back to the office, and it's like, wait, I don't get
Yeah.
to go home.
Yeah, and it's like
But then
um
also the other thing is like the one thing that he cares about in that office is like there's the pretty office lady,
yeah,
and immediately like she's it's revealed that she's the head of the company's plaything, and it's kind
yeah.
of like ruins that for him as well.
Yep. But eventually, after 3 years of being in the company, zombie apocalypse happens. And I think he starts as his day normal, like he's about to go to work, and then he's just like, "Oh shit, there's a zombie
Well, no,
apocalypse."
he's like
Uh,
there's a door open and there's like two people in there, and he's like, what the fuck's going on in there? And it's like zombies. And he's like, yo, are you okay?
yeah, and he's just like, "All right." But the first thing that he thinks of is he's like, "I gotta go talk to. If I'm gonna die in this apocalypse, I gotta go talk to the lady and
Well, the
confess my love
the
for
first
her."
thing he says is like, I don't have to go to work, and then he
Well,
starts
yeah, he's
running.
like, "Yeah!" Like, he is the most, like, excited about there being like, the world is ending, and it just immediately sets the tone for the show of, like,
He
"Okay, this is
has
very silly."
he has such I don't give a fuck energy throughout this scene where
Oh, yeah.
it's like holy crap, he's just going nuts and it's hilarious.
Yeah.
But
And, but he ends up, what was I saying? Yeah, he ends up going, like, he's like, "Woohoo, this is great," but he's like, "I gotta go confess my love for her." And then he goes, and then, what does he find?
he
What does he
finds
find?
the head of the company is a zombie, which already
Yep.
leads you to believe, uh-oh, this isn't gonna go
Uh-oh.
well.
And then he finds his love is also a zombie, but I think he still confesses his
No, he
love to her.
does.
Yeah.
Apparently in the live action version of this, she hasn't turned yet.
Mhm.
Well, she's like bitten, but she hasn't succumbed yet. And I
Yep.
think in the manga, the manga is similar to the anime, but I know in the live action they changed that a little bit.
Yeah. But
Yeah, very depressing scene, but he gets over it pretty fast.
well, because after that, like he ends up, running away, escaping, not getting zombified. But at that point, he's kind of just like, well, I might as well just have fun before I die. And he's kind of
Yes,
like, I'm gonna make a bucket list, and he ends up making this big old bucket list of things he wants to do, which
which
is pretty.
to me, I love too the fact that like he's like, oh, I can finally clean my apartment because I haven't done that in forever. And then he's like, good, now I'm gonna kick back and watch some TV, which amazed me that the TVs were still up. But
Yep.
also, he's like, I'm gonna have a beer, and then he opens his fridge. He's like, I'm out of beer. Oh no!
And then he's like, I gotta go get beer. So he runs out. And then he like passes his neighbors who are terrified. And they're just like, are you like what? And he's like, I'm gonna go get beer. You want anything? And they're like, we
Toilet
wanna
paper.
live. Yeah. Toilet paper. And then like he comes back and they're dead.
Well, we'll save
They
that
died.
for the end.
I thought they
You,
died.
you didn't watch the credits on the final scene, then I guess.
Or maybe I just forgot. No, I thought
Look,
those two neighbors died.
okay, spoiler warning here. So obviously spoilers for this whole episode, but in the final episode at the climax where it's showing like the little slideshow of all the people they've run into, it actually shows the final scene before it cuts to the final credits is the two of them fighting off zombies out in the like street, implying that they were so inspired by Nintendo that they
Eh,
actually grew a spine and started caring about living.
you know what? I might have probably saw that, but just kind of forgot who they
No,
were.
it's supposed to be a big surprise at the end where it's like these two died, and then you find out the end. No, they didn't. They actually are living, and they're
Well,
out.
I'm glad that they live, but I honestly think I probably just forgot who they
Probably because I was about to say I was gonna save that for later, but
were.
I was like, no,
What?
okay, I guess I'm gonna have to share now.
I forgot.
It's supposed to be a big moment about how like anyone can die, but then it's like also a like a shock, like surprise, where it's like, except nope, they lived.
Yep. And then after that he stuff on his, but eventually he runs into his old friend, Kencho, which
Well,
Kencho.
you forgot first that he runs into a girl at the store when he's going to buy beer,
Yeah.
and he's singing his beer song about "I'm gonna buy beer, I
And
love
she's
beer."
like, "What the fuck is wrong with this guy?" It's her thoughts. I forgot about that. Yeah, he runs into I'm brain farting on her name. I'm brain farting on her name. Do, do. Where is she?
Shizuka, I think her name is.
Oh, she's not popping up in the wiki and the main characters.
Oh, maybe.
Unless she's off to the side. Though.
Oh well, this list doesn't help at all.
I know. I think no, it is. It's Shizuka. Yeah, it's Shizuka. But she's like a much more like serious character, and she's kind of treating the whole zombie apocalypse in a very serious, logical manner. And
yes.
Immediately she's like, "I want nothing to do with you because you're an idiot." and she's just they're on two completely different sides, but they end up coming together later on. But after that, he runs into his friend Kencho, which they kind of had a weird, not falling out, but like drifting apart. They both kind of because Akira was like so much into work, and then the other one, Kencho, was like he was kind of living a fake, like
well, yeah,
fake story.
He was like acting like his life was great, but he was totally hiding the pain behind his smile, which is hilarious because his reveal of where he is, he's literally when the apocalypse happened, he was in like a love hotel, and he's stuck in the bondage room.
Well, no, he was in a It wasn't a love. I don't think it was a love hotel. I think it was a
Why was there a bondage room then?
Well, no. It's what is it called? Like they have it's like the opposite of maid cafes, where it's like there's men and you go and they're pretty, and then like you can go and elect to have with them. But what is it called?
I don't know. I thought it was a love hotel. So
no, because there's Japan. It's like male.
regardless,
It's kind of like no, I need to know now.
Well, while you're looking that up, I'm gonna explain what's happening.
Oh God. Okay, I shouldn't have Googled that.
Yeah, I was gonna say. But basically, he's in the quote unquote bondage room of this hotel-ish building, and he's stuck in there, and there's a zombified lady in like the fucking like
the bondage cross thing, yeah.
Yeah, and he's like just like sitting there as it's like screaming at him the whole time, and I'm like, this has to be hell.
Yep. But Akira eventually comes to save him, and eventually they end up escaping to the roof, and then like Kira's like, we gotta jump across the roof. And then they jump across the roof. But before that, Kencho takes off all of his clothes.
Yeah, his clothes come off a lot.
So it's part of his so he really wants to be a comedian, and that's like his main act of his comedy routine is just getting butt fucking naked.
Yeah, and there's some great uncomfortable scenes later on involving that.
Oh yeah. But they end up both escaping the zombies, and then they end up being like, you know what? Well, Kencho's like, you know what? This bucket list sounds great. I'm in. And he's like, I want to join. So now they're both working together to hit all the items on the bucket list.
Yeah, and I love too. They do the classic like survival, post-apocalyptic thing where they leave their indoor apartments and they just live on the roof.
Yeah,
which I always find is just fun.
And they're like barbecuing. They're just having a good time.
But then they like we need a TV, so we're gonna go off on a mission to find a TV.
And then they get stuck in a building with a
What I
bunch of
love too is
ladies.
though this world, because like apparently the zombie apocalypse happened during rush hour. There's just cars everywhere and bikes, so they
Yeah.
just like whenever they need a bike, they just steal a bike.
Yep. They're like, sweet, I got something. But they go to the store and then they get trapped in the store and
They
then
get trapped in the store with three beautiful women and some random business guy, and
yep. But
they
random business guy was bit by a zombie
well
before.
we find that out later, but of course they're in like a convenience store kind of thing full of alcohol, so they're all just
Yes.
drinking their sorrows away.
Yeah.
And at one point Akira walks off with one of Akira gets drunk and gets sick, so he ends up throwing up in the toilet, and one of the other girls like kind of comforts him.
Mhm.
Um, then Kendo goes off to do things with one of the other girls.
Well, and like the bucket list item he's trying to do here is he's trying to get his first kiss, and that's like his bucket list item. He wants to get that first kiss.
Spoiler warning:
then,
it doesn't end well for him.
no, and then
Um,
Ken Joseph just off, basically banging the girl.
So there's three girls. There's the bitchy one, the really cute, nice one, and then the dumbass one.
Yep.
Kendo gets the dumbass one.
Yep.
And of course so
the
there's a
girl stays with the
zombie, the guy who's been bit, which we'll get to what happens there. Well, the way she gets bit is fucking horrifying because she thinks he's getting because she's basically exposing herself laying on this table drunk, legs in a very position. You can fill in the blanks. And and he goes right for it, and she's like, "What are you trying to do? Get handsy with me?" And it's implied that he bit her right in the yeah, it's like, that is a horrible way to go. Like,
yep. But eventually what happens is they all become minus Akira and Kencho, everyone becomes zombies.
Kensho comes out with the girl and he's like, "Hey, what's happening?" And then he sees the zombified the bitchy one running at him, and he runs off, and of course she goes just annihilates the fucking dumb one at that point. It's like, up there goes two. And then so there's also a running thing with this series where it's like anytime Akira is like having a great moment and something it seems like it's going well for him, it just immediately gets ruined.
Yeah.
Because of course they're having him and the nice one are having this like heart to heart. And then, of course, the zombified dude shows up and just like he's about to bite Akira, and the girl blocks him and gets bit in the process.
Yeah.
And it's like, God damn it, he has to suffer more.
Yep.
And of course, they all end up dying here. And then the punchline, though,
is
the punchline is, "Hey, I found the TV.
Let's get out of here."
As Akira's been fucking traumatized again.
Yep. But then after that, I think the next big plot point is they're like, "All right, we're bored. Let's get an RV."
Well, yeah, because Akira wants to check on his family because his family lives really far off, kind of in the boonies.
Yes.
And it's implied that he doesn't have a bad relationship with his family, but
we forgot. He first wants to become a superhero.
Oh, right. Yeah, he gets one of those
one of his bucket list items is he wants to be a superhero. So he makes his own little costume.
He buys a shark dive. Yeah. Well, no, he gets one of those shark dive suits, which are like they're puncture proof. So the zombies, if they bite him, it won't actually like affect him.
Yeah.
But of course, he finds out during this that which is funny because he goes to save like one of the like the literal like this is your cat poo if it was a human essentially. The most just scared of everything high school girl basically.
Yeah.
And he finds out because a zombie bites him in the suit, and he finds out it will protect him, but it still hurts like a bitch.
Yeah.
He's just getting mauled by zombies.
Like,
as Kendo basically brings everyone in, and he's like, "Hey, you got it, buddy."
He's like, "Yeah,
I'm not gonna help you, but you're good."
And then I think eventually his hearing leads him to like an aquarium where they find shark zombie.
Oh, my favorite scene is when they open the door and they're just like, "Is that a shark?" And then they just run away screaming because it's straight up a shark that ate a bunch of zombies, and then the zombies like feet kind of fused to it, and it's just a walking shark zombie. It is the most hilarious thing ever.
Yep.
And then they're just getting chased by this thing throughout the room.
And that's when they run into
Shizuka again.
Yeah, again. And she's just like,
Not impressed in the
She's
slightest.
not impressed at all. But because they ran into her here, that's how it leads into them all getting an RV together. Because they're like, all right, you might as well just join us. And eventually she just gets reeled into getting an RV
We
with
also
them.
get a bit of her backstory where apparently her dad was kind of just a piece of shit who like the very definition of like the pristine like Japanese father who like basically controls his children's lives in every
Well, and
way.
that's why she's so like meh, uptight and strict and
Yeah.
like so the opposite of them.
Well,
But
his biggest piece of shit moment is like she has a dog that's sick and she raises it back to health, and then he finds it later because he told her to get rid of it, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I found your things upstairs. I sent it to the kill shelter," and it's like, what an asshole.
yeah, her dad sucks. But
And
they end
he's
up,
apparently confirmed to still be alive too, which is
damn it.
fun. I'm sure he'll be a thing later on.
Yep. But they go and they get an RV after montagingly trying out all the RVs and
And
looking
of
around. And of course, like Shizuka is like, you need to pick the strategic one. And then they're like, no, we're picking the fun one. Like,
and my favorite part too is that like Shizuka's like, that is fucking stupid. Why would you ever think about stuff like that? And then she finds like this old like VMW bug, and she's like all like enthralled by it. She's like, she's like, this is amazing because like occasionally she'll like revert to her actual personality where she
yes.
likes stuff. But then of course because they've been loud as fuck, all the zombies find them. This is a
And then
running theme where like they'll be like safe and then they're loud as fuck and the zombies find them.
and then they just pick the first one that has keys. They
Which is the
find keys,
most generic RV ever, but I kind of love it for that.
but it works. And then they escape.
And they run into one of my favorite characters from the show very soon after,
Who?
Beatrix.
Well, but first there's an arc between. There's the
Oh yeah, the fucking
they run into
baseball
the
arc.
asshole boss. So they basically run into Akira's old boss at the old company. And it
I'm
really
not.
sucks because you see Akira kind of fall right back
Yeah,
into
I'm
his
not gonna
old.
lie. I didn't like this arc.
No, it was definitely like not fun.
I
Not
was
as
just like,
fun.
I just hated how he reverted back so fast. I was like, all that
But
development just out the window.
But I think though it's like it's kind of realistic though to like how people experience trauma because
I know.
like what he went through was like he like it basically shut him down as a person and then like to kind of just see his boss like it can be scary. Like I'm sure like if I saw like my old boss after like, leaving and like making his job a lot harder. I mean, not really as much anymore. But I'm sure if I ran into someone, like it would be awkward or like I'd be uncomfortable. I don't think at this point I'd have his reaction, but for him, like he went through something like it basically changed his life, and he was trying to really just turn around, and then like it situations like that really can affect you. Um, it really can bother you. So it was realistic. But I think it was good though. He did eventually, power through, and he was like, no,
Well,
because it
because
was
like
it was more growth. Because I mean, think about it. Like, yes, he kind of grew, but it was more of like he it just wasn't a thing anymore, so he could be happy. This was true growth, I would say. Of like, no, I screw you, man. I'm I'm going on because he didn't quit his job. He didn't really grow there when you think about it. Like, it was a zombie apocalypse, the world was ending. There was no job to go to. This one he truly did, just say, fuck it, I hate you.
true.
Bye.
I do love the fact though that the entire like they have like this perfect like enclosure that's completely surrounded. Zombies can't get in, but they're using zombies as slave labor, which I immediately saw. I'm like, that's gonna backfire.
That's good. Yeah. Yeah.
And of course, the idiots who are doing one of their like supply runs leave the door open and a zombie gets in. You can see where this is going. And of
Yep.
course, the zombie then breaks loose and frees all of the slave zombies. And then, surprise, now we're full of zombies and we're all fucked.
Yep. But
But of course,
our
Akira uses his because Akira is actually a really smart tactician, which is
yeah.
kind of cool. Um, and I love that he saves his boss just to tell him off, and then all of his people ditch him, and he's just alone.
Yep. They're
Which
just like,
was
you're an asshole. Well, because all of the people who worked for him were basically tricked into it. It was the same thing they did with Akira. He did with Akira. So all of them left. But after that, the road trip it again.
And we meet one of the best characters in the show.
Beatrix. Beatrix
Who-
was awesome because she's a German lady
She's
who loves
she's a
Japanese
weeb.
culture.
She is a weeb.
She's a
She's literally
weeb.
a weeb. She's a German girl who's legit a weeb, and it is the funniest thing ever because she fights in full samurai garb.
And she's badass. Like
She is.
she beats all the zombies.
And her whole quest is that she loves Japanese culture so much she's trying to do a fish run for this like sushi chef just so he can make sushi one more time.
Yeah. And it turned out that that was also on Akira's bucket list, was picking out on a bunch of sushi. So she's like, I'm in. This is fun.
I also love a gradual theme of the show is Akira makes the bucket list for himself at first, and like he gets annoyed when the others add stuff to it. But by the as the series goes on, he starts like he's like, this isn't my bucket list. This is our bucket list, and it like really kind of becomes this cool like growth thing where like the group is becoming like one.
Yeah. And then after that, that's when they end up heading to Akira's hometown.
And the treehouse man.
The treehouse man. He was a nice little man.
His backstory was so sad where it's like his son just wanted to build a treehouse and then he gets killed, so then he devotes his life to building treehouses in his memory.
That's why we live, laugh, love the treehouse man. He was great. And then they all help him. They help him build the treehouse, right? And like he's living out in the trees, like because it's safer from the zombies too.
No, it really is, and he's such a positive guy. And then eventually he leads them to where the village is, because the main entrance to the village is blocked by this tunnel that's like full of zombies because the zombies are all trapped in there.
Yep.
They're basically sealed in to keep them from getting through. And which I still am like, I get it's an animation thing, like anime logic, but like their barricade is so easy to pass through. Like I'm always like, how do they not just climb over it?
They're zombies. Their brains don't work anymore. They're kind of.
I know. It was just one of those things where I'm just like, I get it's anime logic. I'm like that is like not blocking the tunnel at all.
Yeah, but
they eventually get to the village, and at first they think it's like the worst because there's nobody around, but then they find out everyone's just in like the bar having a party.
Yeah, and everything's fine, and that they kind of were able to seal off their civilization in order to be okay, which is
and a
good.
bunch of survivors from the city have joined the civilization, and then they're kind of all living there as part of the society.
Yeah, but not all of them are good eggs.
No, we'll get to that. We'll get to the final villains of this first part of the anime later. But like one thing I find cool is like Akira meets his parents, and he's just happy to see them.
Well, and like he's almost like, I want to thank you for everything you did for me. Like, and that's like on his bucket list, is he like wants to thank his parents and like give back to his parents for all that they gave him.
I liked his mom and dad, like, because they were tough, but they weren't like assholes. Like, because there's a flashback scene where Akira says his goal of going to the city to become an office worker, essentially, and his dad basically is like, "Are you sure?" And he's like, "All right, go for it." Like, doesn't try to fight him on it at all. He just basically is like, "Yeah, that's fine."
Which is honestly kind of like, it's good because, you know, like even if they don't necessarily agree that it's the right thing, you know, they have to go learn and they have to figure it out. You know, there's so many people who, you know, because the truth is that if you're doing something that you're forced to do, you're not going to like it. You're not going to want to enjoy it. Even if it's something you're really good at or talented at, like you won't like it because you're being forced to do it. So it was good parenting.
Oh, yeah.
They were really nice parents. Liked them a lot. 10 out of 10. Great mom and dad.
Even though the dad, so it gets revealed later what's actually going on, but there are points where it shows the dad is kind of sick, and you're like, oh no, this can't be a good sign.
Wasn't it just like hemorrhoids?
Yeah, we find that out later, but at the time it makes you feel upset. But there's also points where Akira's really getting along with like all of the people, and there's like an interesting running theme where like Akira seems to be just awful with romance, but he's always like surrounded by really attractive women.
Oh yeah, and he always makes a lot of friends.
Because he runs into these three girls from the city. One of them is a former movie makeup artist. The other one is was like an office worker, and then the third one was like a hairstylist. And he's getting dreadlocks put in.
Well, and you feel bad about the makeup artist like story because she was like, I was working on a zombie film, and then the zombie apocalypse happened. How dramatic that would be! Like,
I know. Where you're like, wow, the costumes are amazing, and it's like, why are you killing people?
What? Yeah.
Um, yeah, they were super fun because they were just like really nice down to earth. But then there's also these kind of sketchy group of
Assholes.
people that are walking around and
Assholes.
they're just
Assholes.
kind of jerks. Um, and it's implied that there's a bit more to them. They also came from the city, but we learn more about them later. But there's also the we find out about how the electricity in the town works
Mhm.
because they're completely off the grid, so their power is controlled by like a water wheel.
Yeah.
And Beatrix gets like the whole rundown on how it works and how like there's a breaker that keeps it from getting too powerful because it's hooked up to an electric fence, which keeps the zombies out of the town basically.
Yep.
But
Yeah. But
yeah,
after that, that's kind of when those jerks end up revealing their true motives, and because they're unhappy, they want everyone to be unhappy, and
they
they
are
set all the
literally
zombies
it,
free just
yeah,
to fuck with people, which
they are
sucks.
literally a dark reflection of the main cast, which is kind of an
Yeah, they
interesting
are very
thread.
much an opposite. Like they're just the opposite of like these people are just so like, you know what? We're gonna live the best of our life. We're gonna have fun. We're gonna make this bucket list and we're gonna do everything on it. Well, the opposite are just like everything sucks. So I'm gonna make it so everyone else's life sucks. Sucks.
Yeah, and they're like a their whole gimmick is the fact that they're just a bunch of they're essentially they're all people that get wronged in life, or at
Mhm.
least but when I say wronged in life, it's mostly because they were just assholes.
Well, they feel they were wronged in life.
Yeah, well, I mean, the fat one is kind of just he's a kind of just a weirdo, and he ended up in that situation.
Yeah.
Uh, the woman is like an office worker who was so bitchy that she basically got fired for it. And then the other one was the salary man who was so miserable in life that his fucking like he basically never paid attention to his family, and that's why his
Oh yeah, and
family,
then his wife like left him because she was like, "You dumb bitch, I hate you."
yeah, basically. And then the main one is a character
He's just
named
like a shut-in. Like he was just like a shut-in, and like he has some sort of I forget
he's
the connection to Akira, but they knew each
no
other.
he's a neat, like the Japanese like phenomenon of neats where they don't ever leave their homes and they're super antisocial.
Yep.
His name is Kanta Hirashi, I think, or Higurashi. That's it.
Yeah.
And the way his connection to Akira was, they actually went to college together.
Mhm.
And what happened was like basically he was such a miserable emo boy that like Akira and Tengo, they would run into him and they'd be like, "Hey, buddy, you want to hang out with us?" And he'd be just all like, "No, leave me the fuck alone, weirdos."
And they were literally being nice to him.
Yeah, they were, but he's such an emo neat boy that he just kind of shoved him off and then
Yeah.
resented them for it. So his entire beef with Akira is all based around
It's
this,
stupid.
which is his entire motive is stupid.
Yeah, it's all pretty dumb,
All
but
of their
they
motives are stupid, to be honest.
no, they all suck. So you don't feel bad for what happens
Well,
to them.
like even the least offensive one is the fat guy, and then he gets all rapey, and it's like wonderful, great.
Yes.
Like
It's
so, even he's
ew.
fucked up on so many levels.
Ew. But
Um,
the group ends up beating them all. Because they have
well,
to kind of
this is a very so the final climax is essentially the zombies are all let out in the village, and they're everyone's super unprepared to
yeah.
fight them off because most of the village is elderly and like older,
Oh yeah, it's all older people or young kids too.
and Shizuka has kind of become the medic at this point, and she's been taking care of all the elder people, and they all gain this. What I love is about this arc is like the village like loves everybody here and like adores like everybody,
Mhm.
like the group. So they end up creating this cool plan where like they got to destroy. So basically, the four villains separate into four different areas, and the main cast basically each gets paired up with one. And actually, we forgot to mention Tengo and his little friend that he meets there, and his that's kind of you remember the little girl that he becomes friends with?
Oh yeah, with the dog. Like her whole family's dead, and she
Yeah,
just has a dog,
he's like
and
trying
she's
to tell
sad.
her. He's like telling her jokes, and she doesn't really find them funny. And then he's
Well,
like,
it's more of like he's trying to get her to open up because she's kind of just shut herself away. Because I mean, her whole family's fucking dead, and she just has a dog.
"Yeah." Well,
So
one of
he's
my
just
favorite scenes is like he's trying to make her laugh and like telling him his joke. He's like, "You want me to do the joke where I talk with my butt?" And she's just like, "No, don't do that."
she's like, no.
She's like,
Like
"I am a child."
and you are an adult. We
Yeah.
don't do that here. Um, yeah, but they end up, doing their big old pew pew. They beat all of them, and then I think they all become zombies too, right?
So, kinda. Um, what happens with So the first one is the salaryman. He's attacking Tango, and because Tango got separated from the group because of the little girl's dog ran off, so he went to go find her. And during their confrontation on the roof, he essentially um he during the confrontation to save the little girl, he knocks both of them off the roof into the horde of zombies.
Yeah.
But what ends up happening is like there's a little composting pit right nearby, and he essentially goes, he's like, hey, there's only one way we're gonna survive this, and he just takes his clothes off and jumps straight up into the shit bucket. And my favorite part about this scene is it pans over and shows the reactions of everyone there, and the little girl's up on the roof with the most horrified look on her face,
Like,
like this
that
look
man
of
just jumped in shit.
yeah. But because he's in the shit, the zombies won't attack him anymore.
Yeah, because
And I believe the salaryman ends up killing himself to avoid the zombie getting killed by the zombies.
yeah.
Because the fat one, he ends up going after Shizuka because of course he does,
Mm.
and she ends up getting saved by all the elderly because they fight back. They basically fight for her, and they end up basically just incapacitating him.
Yes.
Beatrix goes after the psycho office worker, and she's the one that actually gets eaten by zombies because
Yeah.
in the process she ends up breaking off the water wheel, and then it starts rolling around
And
uncontrollably
she's
as
like
she's
running on top of it.
yeah, and it's implied that she's running on it for the entire time this entire sequence goes by. By the way,
Yep.
But then the big one is Akira is he meets up with his parents, and his dad essentially forces him to stay in the building with his mother because he doesn't want him to die in front of his mother, and he goes out to confront uh,
The asshole.
Higurashi. And Higurashi essentially captures him and then uses him as bait to get Akira to come out. And he essentially just makes this thing where he's like, "Hey, I'll only come out if you let the zombies in and get bitten by a zombie."
Mhm.
And his dad's like, "Don't do it. It's a trap. Don't do it." And this is then where like Akira's genius thinking comes in because they give you a bit of a kind of a fake out where he opens the doors and lets the zombies in, and you just hear the screams, and then Akira comes out and he's a zombie,
Yeah, it's
and
the makeup artist.
yeah, and he's laughing about it the whole time. And then right as he walks up to the thing and starts kind of pretending to claw at it, and then he does like a psych move and he goes up and like just completely jumps up and incapacitates Higurashi, and he's so shocked. He's like, "What? How?" And then it shows the actual scene where he like got the makeup artist to make him look like a zombie, and they let the zombies in and took them out, and then he basically faked the whole thing just to trick him,
Yeah.
which was really a really good move. But then Higurashi gets bitten as he's like having his villainous breakdown.
As he
Yeah.
deserved to at that
But
point.
the worst part is
I was very happy when he got bit because I was like, yeah, that's what you get, you fucker.
but then you find out too that the saddest irony is all he wanted to do was just hang out in like with them in the pool. That was
Yeah.
like his whole thing.
Dumb little bitch.
But he doesn't even get succumbed to the zombie virus completely. He ends up jumping because he's like going through like mental hallucinations. He ends up jumping in the river and drowning.
Yep.
That's how he dies.
But better off.
Yeah. And then of course they're all like, "How do we stop the zombies? Like we have to get out of here." And then they're at the fence and they don't know if it's if the electricity's turned off yet. But they can't break it down regardless. But then Beatrix comes in on the wheel and just completely just goes through it.
Yep.
But then the best reveal is as they're trying to escape, they find the bridge is destroyed and they can't get away. That is until the treehouse man goes and he's like, "I made you guys a new bridge because I figured you'd need it." And they all get across, and basically the final reveal is like they're fixing up the town, and they've basically the one bad guy that didn't die, the fat guy, he is now basically working for them as a out of redemption.
Yep.
And the Treehouse guy is leading the reconstruction efforts, which is great.
Yeah. He's doing what he loves.
But it's like there's a whole great resolution where like basically everybody's fine. I love that nobody died in the zombie attack too, which was nice.
Hmm.
None of the good people died, anyways.
Yeah. They all made it out. I don't remember if we missed it or if they did this after, but they also do go to a hot spring.
This happened before they got to the town,
Yeah.
but
It
yes, they
before. Yeah. There is a hot spring scene, as for
yeah,
most animes.
but the only
But it's
ones
a zombie hot spring.
well, no, you only see the guys, so because you only see Beatrix.
What's wrong with that?
That's
What's
the joke.
wrong with that?
Well,
I think it's great.
it's not that significant because you see Tengo naked like every 5 minutes of this show.
Yeah, and I enjoy every second of it.
Even when he was covered in shit.
Not that one. Not that one.
But yeah, they jump in the water and they're all swimming around, and like they find out that the female bath was out of order at the time. So they're basically like, Shizuka wants nothing to do with that, but Beatrix is like, "Fuck it, I'm going in." But right as she's about to get in, the spring is full of zombies.
Yep.
And it's like it ruins it for all of them. But then they find another spring in the woods, and then they all get to bathe in it.
Yep. But I can't really. Does it? Is that where it concludes? Is like they leave the town. They're like, let's go keep working on adventure. Like our.
Well, yeah, they make they make the whole thing where it's like they're gonna go off and try to find a cure, and they're gonna go on their adventure. But of course, Shizuka points out, we're taking a lot of detours to these places we really don't need to go if we're actually looking for a cure. And they're like, hey, we got to live a little. It's the bucket list.
Yep.
It's a nice scene though, because like you get a good closure with like Akira and his parents.
Isn't it just like hemorrhoids though?
Yeah. They find out his dad is in bed, and then the mom reveals, "Oh, don't worry, he's just got hemorrhoids. He's fine."
It just adds to the comedic effect.
Yeah,
as you can see, it's a very funny, silly, goofy show. Like for a zombie show, it's pretty funny.
Do you remember this scene early on where like before they go and get the TV, like Akira's up on the roof and he's like, I want to get a kiss from a girl. And he's looking through like the horde of zombies, and you get the farting businesswoman zombie.
Yep.
And it's like he just has this look in his face like, it's gonna be harder than I thought.
Yep. But I think things will go his way soon. So he just has to be patient.
Yeah. Now we'll save our final thoughts for after we cover our second show, but I will say it was a very entertaining watch, and it is when it comes to zombie stuff, I'm usually burnt out by it, but this one was very entertaining because it's kind of it's more of a deconstruction of the zombie.
Well, it's a fun twist because I personally don't love a zombie show. I'm just not a big zombie fan. It kind of creeps me out. I don't know. I just don't like it. But this one I really enjoyed. So
yeah. I just like the idea where it's like they just give so little of a shit like throughout the whole thing.
Yeah.
And it kind of
just like there's so much of just like we're doing this bucket list. I mean, we're gonna fucking die anyway, so why not have fun?
So if this show was made in like the early 2010s, it would be called like Zom 100 YOLO or something.
Yeah, I hope. I'm glad it wasn't.
Or like in like the late early 2020s, it would be like Zom 100 FOMO or something. But now it's because that's basically what this show is: the fear of missing out, the you only live once bullshit.
Yeah. Well, just like gonna have fun. We're gonna have fun.
No, it was a great show, and I'll save my final thoughts for the end. But yeah, so that was one of our shows.
Yes.
And the other one was another show which I've covered a little bit over on Geek Addicts, so fans of that show may have already heard my thoughts, but I'd like to hear Alex's thoughts on this one as well. And we are covering Sandland, the recently released anime.
No. Land Sand.
Anyways, the recently released anime adaptation of Akira Toriyama's iconic one-shot manga that he did all the way back in 2000. Like, this is an old manga. And I was actually like, I was pretty interested when it got announced because like Akira Toriyama is mostly known for Dragon Ball and like Dragon Quest. Like a lot of his other work, like Doctor Stump or Slump, I forget. I'm brain
Thanks,
farting right
Slump.
now. Doctor Slump or like Sandland are kind of like forgotten nowadays.
Mm.
And so when I saw this one, A was getting an anime, but also a video game adaptation, which I'm actually looking forward to playing at some point.
Hmm.
Um,
I think a video game is going to be fun.
it's already out. It's the same studio that made the One Piece game.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, so Sandland is um a very interesting show. It is CGI animated, so it's very similar to the style animation used in a
Dragon Ball Superhero.
yeah, where
There was no
it's
butt shot though of Bulma, which is a little disappointing.
there's not a lot of females in this show. I'm not gonna lie. Um,
Yeah, no, you're right.
there's only like really like one that matters for like two or so, but that's we'll get to it. So Sandland is very interesting. It is a story essentially about a post-apocalyptic world where like water is essentially non-existent and it's like desert world and like water is super hard to come by.
Mm-hmm.
And
And of course, the government regulates it to the point it is super expensive just to live. It's
yes.
funny, but while I was watching this, if you like this, you should watch Trigun because the premise is very similar.
So this came out early 2000s. Akira Toriyama definitely was trying to push an environmental message with this one.
Oh yeah.
It's
No, but
very
just like the
obvious.
whole desert, like I don't know. It was kind of like reminding me. I was like, it was just giving me some Trigun vibes. Like not just like the plot of it being in a world where it's post apocalyptic. There's no like like it. There's no resources and stuff. But then it takes a different direction from there. But it was like, huh, that's kind of funny.
Yeah.
Um.
So Sandland to me is very interesting because it's kind of like it's like a coming of age, but also like a buddy kind of like a buddy cop kind of story.
Yeah.
Where so there's three main characters in the show. There is the main character who you see in all the advertisements, Beelzebub, who is a demon in this universe, the son of Lucifer, who for any Dragon Ball for any Dragon Ball Z fans, he's essentially Babidi from Dragon Ball Z.
Mm.
Like very like basically the same design. And Beelzebub is like one of the main demons in the demon village, which is just a village of demons in the
Well,
desert.
he's the son of the king, so he's like the young master, and all of them look up to him because he's strong.
But what's interesting is there is a
But
bit of
he's
like,
nice.
well, yeah, there's a whole thing where like the humans all think the demons are evil, and it's kind of like a prejudice thing.
Yeah.
But like one of the first scenes with Beelzebub is we actually see him. He gives the humans a whole bunch of water that he stole from the government.
Yeah.
Which is really nice. And he's a good guy. He's a prankster, but he's not like an asshole by any means. Honestly, the demons in general they basically just want to be left alone. They don't really want to cause trouble. They play tricks more than anything. They don't actually kill anybody, which is
Yeah, they're just kind of doing their own thing. And if you mess with them, they'll attack. But for the most part, they'll just leave them alone.
Yeah. So we're introduced then to a character named Rao, who is an older man, who he's essentially a sheriff for the desert, the Sandland, essentially.
For a town. Well, for a town in Sandland.
Yeah. And he goes to the demon kingdom essentially to recruit them because he wants to go on a mission to find like a spring. Because he knows the water is coming from somewhere, but he doesn't know exactly
where the water's coming from.
And Rao is a very interesting character with a very deep background that we'll get into as the story goes.
Yeah.
And then the third main character is one of my favorites. His name is Steve.
Yes.
He looks like an old Santa, essentially. But the running joke is he's not actually that much older than Beelzebub. He just looks that way.
It's just his face. But he is great at stealing, and he has a lot of wisdom.
What did you think of his stealing outfit?
I loved his Santa Claus stealing outfit. I love that he dresses as Santa to go steal shit. It's like the opposite. I hope he jumps down a chimney too. He's just like, psych, reverse Santa, steal your shit.
I also love the fact too that when they're recruiting, so when Beelzebub goes and brings up the whole, because he eventually basically says like, once we find the spring, I'll share the water with all the demons, like no questions asked. Mm-hmm. And Beelzebub brings this to his father, and his father's essentially like, You could use some time out, essentially. But remember, when you get back, you're going to have a lot of homework to do. Um, which I love the fact that he has such don't give a shit energy, and he just chills on
Yeah.
his couch the whole time doing a puzzle. But
But his dad does care about him though.
he does. We'll get to that later because that's way down the line. But
Yeah.
so they're going on their journey, and they can only fit one more person in the buggy. So they kind of
This
go
is an
through.
audition.
Yeah, they do an audition of all the demons, and the one that doesn't want to go is Thief, but he ends up
Yeah.
being the only one that's actually useful because all the other ones are just kind of lame.
Yeah. Well, and like it's like they do all the audition, and it's literally just for Beelzebub to go audition him, and then be like, "Yeah, I was gonna take you the whole time."
Yeah,
It's like
basically.
dumbass.
But I love the fact too that like they then go on their little journey, and like the whole time, basically like it's a lot of like kind of world building and like character growth. Where like Rao's still not 100% like against his demon prejudice yet, so he kind of
Mhm.
like bonds with the two of them as the thing goes on, and like Beelzebub makes the whole point of like, yo, like demons don't kill people, we just play tricks, like you'll never
Yeah.
actually see us do anything like that.
Yeah. And like
Yeah,
it's only like we only defend ourselves if we have to. Like really,
because
if we attack someone, it's out of self defense.
yeah, and they make a point how Rao has a gun, and Rao basically says bullets are hard to come by. It's like this is mostly just for show, like to make it look like it, so I look intimidating.
Yes.
But yeah, so they go through this whole like journey, and they end up encountering this giant sandworm, and as
Yep.
a thief is driving, and unfortunately during the thing they have to escape, and they have to jump over this giant pit. But the only way they can get over is to lighten the load, so they have to give up all their supplies
It's
essentially,
all their cargo.
which is kind of sad. But eventually they come across a group of desert bandits, and Beelzebub essentially wrecks their shit
Hmm.
after
Oh,
Rao.
is it the swimmers?
No, not the swimmers yet. The
Oh,
swimmers come a little later. This
oh
is
no,
like,
these were the purple guys. These were the
yeah,
purple hair guys.
the
Well, because they
pathetic.
go into the town and it pops all the tires of their car, and they're like, "Dang
Yeah,
it, we're stuck." And
and
it's the purple man, but they become
essentially,
nice later on.
yeah. What's funny though is like they start the fight, but like Beelzebub and Thief don't really want to get involved. So Rao kind of starts fighting, basically out of like he's going to show like he's not afraid, and he holds up pretty well until they like kind of use cheap tactics and kind of gang up on him.
Mhm.
So then Beelzebub goes in and essentially wrecks their shit like right away
Yes.
because Beelzebub's really strong.
Mhm. Well, he
So
is the son of the devil.
yeah, but he's a lot stronger than even he seems here.
Mm.
Because then we kind of like eventually they encounter the military of Sandland, and they steal one of their tanks, which becomes their new method of transportation.
Yeah.
And as they do this, they actually run into a whole bunch of different like soldiers, including one of my favorite characters in the show, General Are,
Yes.
who is basically the for character similarity, he's essentially the guy with the pompadour from Superhero,
Yeah. Yeah.
but a more likable. Um,
Yeah. And more buff.
yeah, yeah. And what if we find out is throughout this whole thing, they find out that Rao is actually a general from the army known as General Shiba, who was believed to have died like 30 years into the past during a big incident that actually they were testing this really bizarre weapon that ended up annihilating this group of people
Well,
known
and
as.
the thing is that at the time we don't know, but it wasn't a weapon. They weren't making a weapon.
Well, they weren't making a weapon. The army had a weapon though.
Well, no, they weren't making a weapon, but the stuff they were using to make it could be used as a weapon. So when they launched the attack, it exploded, which turned into this big bomb. But that's
Yeah,
why
the
it
peep.
wasn't that it was a weapon. They just like blew it up so that it became a weapon.
Yeah, the peachy people who were trying to create a. They were essentially trying to create a source of unlimited water.
Yes.
Um,
Well, to solve the water crisis that was happening.
yes. And this essentially, because not only does this destroy the peachy people, but it also annihilates Rao's hometown, including his wife.
Yeah.
Um,
Which is really you feel for him.
because we find out in the tank, Rao has a poster up of this beautiful singer. And Thief makes a whole like really like lewd comment about it, be like, ah, you're one of those rascally dogs,
One of
aren't you?
those guys.
And
Yeah.
then basically they find out that that's Rao's wife, and that's the only photo of her left.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
because I think at one point he's like, "Oh, like why don't you have a normal picture of her?" And he's like, all my stuff blew up. Like I don't have anything."
so fun fact about the manga, that in the manga, that poster is a nude photo
Oh, nice.
from a pinup. So
That probably adds more context to it as
yeah,
well.
it makes more sense in the manga why he's all like, because it's really not that like lewd of a photo in the anime.
I think it was more they were trying to imply like she was a sexy actress.
Yeah, but the way he says it comes off a bit strong. In the manga, though, it makes perfect sense because she's nude.
Yeah, but they can't show that on Hulu. Yeah, because also one thing to bring up, this was a Hulu exclusive show.
Hulu/Disney Plus.
Yeah.
Which is fine. I mean,
No.
easy. It's easy enough to find.
Oh yeah, no. I was just saying like, so this is Hulu's the only place you can really watch this. Hulu
Yeah.
Disney Plus.
But yeah, so during this whole thing, they get the whole like reveal that Rao is actually a lot more important than they thought.
Yeah, he's General Sheba. Inu.
But because of this though, like it starts kind of putting disarray throughout the military, because a lot of the military still respects General Sheba, and General, especially General Are, whose dad was a member of Sheba's like team,
And
and
also his father passed away during
in
the
the
fight.
attack.
Yeah.
And it's revealed that the attack was caused by another general known as General Zeo, who is
An
essentially
asshole.
He's essentially Dr. Eggman in his little hover bubble thing.
I'm sorry, but later on when they attack him and the bottom half comes off and his little legs pop out, I slapped at him the whole time. It looks so stupid.
Oh, his entire he gets fucking team rocketed away later on. It's great.
Yes.
But yeah, so like essentially like throughout they also run into the swimmers at this point, and the swimmers are
We love the swimmers.
This
swimmers
is how
are some of the best characters.
This is how they find out who's Rao is, because the swimmers are fun because it's a little family of buff men. Well, not buff because only one of them's really buff, but it's a family of swimmers in speedos who swim in the sand, um, which is just funny. But each one of them has a gimmick. Like there's the main one who is like a former military officer who's the father. Then there's the three sons. One of them is super fast. The other one has like amazing eyesight and can draw anything.
Yes.
And then the third one is the big tubby guy who just has a giant rocket launcher.
And he's a big tubby guy. He's huge.
But that's how they find out who Rao was, because they sent out the quick one to get a look at him, and then the one with the eyesight draws a picture of him and shares it with the military, who then discover that's General Shiva. And basically, the swimmers kind of get wrecked, but they also kind of realize too that he's not really the bad guy at this point, and that the military kind of sucks.
Yeah.
So eventually, they actually find a spring during this confrontation, and they're like, "This is the spring we've been looking for. Like we finally done it." But then they find out this is the last and remaining area where the Peachy are, and Rao is so like guilt driven by the fact that he basically wiped most of them out that he flat out goes, "I can't take this from them," and just decides he's going to leave it and not share its location with anybody.
He about being such the good guy he is. He's like, "I knew you were going to say that. Let's get out of here." Like, just a good little nugget he is.
Well, because they know there's got to be another one. It's not just this spring. But yeah, so then they finally make their basically they find the spring in the best way possible, because they end up getting into another confrontation with General Are. And essentially this is where they have their big he just kind of lays it out to him, and he's like basically explains everything. And the demons also basically bring up their prejudice thing again, where they're like, yo, like we don't actually kill anybody, you guys just assume everything.
Yeah.
And basically Are kind of, because he has such respect for Shiva, he basically will take the time to listen. And basically all he needs to do is he goes and asks the general, like, he basically tricks the general into admitting he was responsible for the attack, and they knew everything all along. Because the king of the Sandland is a puppet. He has no idea what's actually going on. And once Ari understands, he immediately goes on the radio and does a fake broadcast, and he pretends like the radios are compromised, and he tells the location of the main spring over the radio to Rao so he can find it.
Yes.
And I love Ra too because he's like basically tells all his men, guys, I'm about to become a traitor of the military. I don't expect you to follow me, so I'm here to be arrested once I'm done. But they all respect him so much they basically all become traitors with him, which is nice. I really like Ari as a character.
No, I think he was definitely. I feel like as soon as I saw him on screen, I was like, I feel like this guy's gonna have a turnaround. I just had a feeling.
So they eventually make their way to where the spring is, and they find out all the water in the world. The reason why Sandland has no water is because it's been dammed up.
Mm.
And the government is essentially holding on to all of it. And
like it's cool to see like looking out past it and being like, there is so much more world back here that they have no idea exists.
I'm gonna say the animation, like we're getting to the point now where like CGI animation is becoming seamless, like with traditional. Yeah. I don't want to see traditional go away entirely, but I am okay with the CGI animation.
That's why I'm telling you, you gotta watch Trigun Stampede because they also use the CGI and like they're really getting there. They're really coming a long way.
No, I mean it's miles compared to like that god awful Berserk anime from way back.
Oh yeah, or just like some of the really old CGI that they used in One Piece, where you're like, oh, you look back and you're like, oh, that was a choice.
Yeah. That being said, though, they go into the final confrontation where they essentially like there's a giant like military saucer thing right by the dam, and they're starting to attack. And then this is where like Zio basically just like completely goes unhinged at this point and launches out these like bug creatures.
Oh yeah, these weird like grasshopper bombs.
Bugmen.
Grasshopper bomb mans. Because they're all bombs too.
And they are so strong that they're too strong essentially for like Rao and like Thief to fight. So Rao and Thief go into the military fortress while they leave Beelzebub to take out the things. And this is where we find out, because earlier there was a scene where Beelzebub was up at night absorbing the darkness from the moon.
Yes, the power of darkness.
This is where we find out because like Beelzebub basically gets wrecked by the bugmen, and Rao's like, we can't just leave him there. And Thief's like, no, don't worry, he's gonna be fine, trust me.
Yeah.
And he's like, when Beelzebub goes down, he comes back. He basically comes back and uses his true power. And this is where he unleashes like the power of the moon and essentially like goes into this full on like beast mode where he just annihilates all of the bug creatures. But one of them uses a stupid cheap bomb tactic and blows up, and you think it kills him, but of course it doesn't, because they wouldn't kill off the main character.
Well, he's the son of the Demon King.
Well, yeah, it's not going to kill him that easily, but it does knock him out for a bit. But eventually, like, Rao gets to the top of the station and faces off against Ziyu, and he pulls out his gun and shoots it. And Thief's like, "I thought you said that thing wasn't loaded." And he's like, "I had to lie. I had to stretch the truth a little bit there. I didn't trust you guys at first, don't you know?" Like, he says it very playfully, and I'm like, "That's funny." I really like Rao as a character too. Like, I love the main three.
No, yeah, they're all great characters, the main three.
But there's a point where like he takes out Zayu, and then he's about to shoot Zayu in the head, but like you think he's gonna do it, but then like he doesn't become a killer, and he lets him.
Yeah, he's a better person.
He's gonna let the soldiers take him away, but then of course he breaks out of his hover thing, and you see his little floppy legs there. And then you think he's gonna like get away, but then Ari shows up and like shoots him with his tank, and it's like awesome.
Yep.
And he gets Team Rocketed away, which is great.
Team Rocket blast him off again.
And they proceed to destroy the fortress. And then they're like, all right, let's destroy this dam. And they're like launching like attacks at it via the tanks, and it's just not enough to break it. And they're out of ammo. And they're like, what do we do? And then
swimmers!
the swimmers show up with their giant bazooka.
Well, because they're just like, we can't wait to fucking swim.
Yeah, they're like, we just want to go for a swim.
They're like, all past grudges aside, we want to go swimming so bad.
Well, also the swimmers realized they weren't bad people in reality.
Yeah.
But
No,
yeah,
but
they blow up the dam, and it completely just all the water gets out, and it basically revives the river of Sandland, and Sandland is saved essentially. But then my favorite moment of all time is Ari gets on the radio, and he's like, "All right, General Ari here. I'd like to announce that the king is going to give half his wealth to all the people of Sandland,
yep.
essentially." And he basically just completely makes everything right, which is great. And I really loved it. So this is where the manga ends, and it is a very good ending. Like I
Mm,
enjoy the ending of the first arc a lot,
yeah.
but the second arc then happens, and the second arc was created during the making of the anime. So this was made years later.
Are they
And
continuing the manga?
no, the manga is well,
But they're
was
continuing the anime.
it's unclear if they're going to go any farther than
Okay.
this arc. Um, this was made specifically though. Toriyama was involved, so this was made with Toriyama's involvement
Before he
before
passed.
he passed tragically. Um, so this was made over 20 years after the original story was written, and
Hmm.
I I will say it shows it is a very different tone going forward.
Yeah. I will
Not
say I really enjoyed the first half. Second half, I didn't hate it, but I would go back and rewatch the first half, not the second half. I guess what I would say.
the second half has good moments, but the
Yeah.
story around it is a little
I and I'm
rougher.
sorry, I hated the stupid little angel guy so much. He was
It's
just
okay.
so irritating.
Me and Matt also did, so that's fine.
He was so irritating that I was just like, oh my god, just kill him. Like, just kill him. I hate him.
Yeah. So essentially, the second arc is there is another village, um,
Well,
for,
another land.
another land, forest land,
Yeah.
nearby, and there is basically now we get this whole plot revolving around like a coup that was done on the village monarchy, and
Land.
essentially we run
Land
into
monarchy. It's a
y-
land.
yeah. Well, there was a coup of the
of the
monarchy.
of the of the what is it? Of the forest land.
Yes.
Royal
Um,
family.
and one of the people that's like there's a group of like rebels the in a forest land led by a girl named An.
Hmm.
And I like An even though she's basically like dreadlock Android 18.
Yeah.
Which is fine. I really liked An as a character.
Yeah.
Um so what's funny is the opening credits for the show showcase all the characters from the second arc from the beginning, and you're like, who are these people as you're
Yeah.
watching it?
Like, who
Um,
are these? You know what was funny is I never noticed them until like once they appeared. I was like, oh, they're
well,
here.
I was wondering when the blonde girl was going to show up. I'm like, there's a blonde girl in the credits. I'm like, who is she? Um, keep in mind she's like the only female like really in the show, which I find kind of interesting.
Mm,
Which is fine. I mean, the cast is strong enough on its own, and I really like her. I think she fits in perfectly.
mm.
But I also like too that it shows early on that Rao is going back to like the surviving Peachy tribe, and he's like bringing them supplies so that they can
Yeah.
continue their research because he still does feel bad about that whole situation.
Even though they're basically like, we forgive you, but
Like
he's like,
we've gotten over it. We know it wasn't your fault.
but it's still that guilt. I think it's also like, I mean, he's an older man, and it's something, to kind of keep him going.
Yeah, but throughout this thing, we also get introduced to so as like Beelzebub is in the he's with the group in
They
the
go on a little shopping trip.
Forest Land, and that's where we run into the worst character of this arc, Muniel.
Neil,
He's
this
an
stupid egg.
angel.
He's an angel, but oh my god, he's annoying as hell.
Yeah, and he's just a dick, and he's extremely racist against demons.
Yep.
And he treats everyone like shit.
Yep.
Basically.
Well, and he's like, he thinks he's so great, but he's not that great.
No, we find out later more about him, and oh boy.
Yeah. You hate him more.
Yeah, but essentially he attacks Beelzebub, and then we find out later that he actually was they were going to execute the king of Forestland, who had been the one that was overthrown. And we find out that Anne is actually the daughter, his daughter, the princess.
Yeah.
And they go in to basically rescue the king, and it's revealed that Anne is actually.
Sorry, I'm dying.
We find out that Anne is actually half demon.
Yes.
Which is an interesting twist. But you don't really learn too much into that right away.
I mean, what did you think of that, just personally?
I kind of got a chuckle because I was joking how there was a bunch of scenes of like Beelzebub and her like kind of like chatting and stuff. I'm like, I wonder if people ship this. And then the reveal later on is we find out that Anne's mother is actually Beelzebub's sister.
Yep.
The Queen of Forestland was actually Lucifer's daughter, who had fell in love with the King of Forestland, and they had a daughter. So we found out that Beelzebub is actually her uncle.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, I feel bad for all the shippers that started writing their fanfics before this reveal.
I mean, that won't stop some.
No, it won't stop them, but I did find that kind of amusing.
I don't know. I get the whole family ties, but the whole her being a demon stuff, I was like, I feel like they used it once, then she never really used any demons.
Yeah, she doesn't do much with her
so
demon.
it was kind of like dumb. I thought it was a little dumb. I'm not gonna lie. I thought it was a stupid point because it was like, cool. She never uses them again.
No, she doesn't at all. We're also introduced to General Bread, who, out of all the characters in this arc, I do like General Bread. I thought he was interesting.
He was the
command
guy, the half cyborg guy.
Yeah. The one that's easily manipulated by Muniel throughout the entire thing. But he has a great like redemption arc towards the end.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so they go through this whole thing, and like essentially the Muniel's trying to.
I have snuffle. I didn't want to record it.
Oh, okay.
I had a sniffle. I'm sorry.
Anyways, so I was going to basically they find out that Muniel is about to like they're trying to revive they're basically using the power source that has been causing all of these problems to like revive this ancient like flying fortress thing that they want to use to essentially obliterate all of Forestland and all of Sandland and basically take over the world.
Mm-hmm.
And then this is where we get the kind of the backstory of like the night of the coup, where we find out that Muniel essentially captured Anne's mother in a magic bottle.
Lilith,
Lilith, all because she got distracted by something, which I was like, really? And then we also find out why he is down here, because he was actually a angel.
Wait, it wasn't even a distraction. It was like Muniel or whatever, the stupid angel face dropped it, and then it just happened to activate. Like it was just, he didn't do it on purpose. It was like an accidental thing.
I'm mixing up the captures. There's another, the bottle comes back later.
Yeah. Well, there's two.
Yeah. But yeah, so we get that backstory, but then we also get Muniel's backstory, where he's like basically an office worker up in heaven. And he ends up basically leaving heaven to go be basically a racist down on Earth against the demons. And he confronts Lucifer, basically claiming he's going to defeat him. And then he breaks Lucifer's TV. And because Lucifer just ignores him the entire time, he's like, I don't give a shit. Like, go away.
I'm busy. I'm watching my shows. Leave me alone.
And then Muniel breaks his TV, and he's like, do you know how much I had to pay for that TV? That was a 37-inch or something like that. And then he proceeds to just rip Muniel's wings off.
Yeah.
Which was such a satisfying scene, because I fucking hated this character by now.
Yes. And then it made sense of like why he was an angel with no wings.
Yeah. Well, because he gets them ripped off and then launched through
space.
And
why he hated Beelzebub so much when he first saw him.
Yeah. So of course he then, once they have their flying fortress, he is so unhinged that even like Bread is like, are you okay? Like you're being kind of psychotic here.
You're being a little much.
Like he's starting to have second thoughts. Because then they immediately go to attack the demon village, and he ends up going after Lucifer again, and Lucifer flat out doesn't even know who he is. He's like, "Who the fuck are you?"
It was like,
Um,
what?
and then he ruins Lucifer's puzzle, which pisses Lucifer off. He's like, "I've been working on that puzzle
Poor
forever."
Lucifer. He's just trying to relax.
I will admit this scene kind of pissed me off though, because like Lucifer gets captured so fucking easily, and I was like, really? Like,
Yep.
ugh. But then of course we get into like the final confrontation where they all essentially launch their way up into the flying fortress and they begin their final thing. We get the return of like the thief Santa costume and everything. And they go through all these things and they're trying to disable it from the inside while also taking out Muniel, who ends up roid raging on the blue.
I was so upset when he didn't stay fat. I was really hoping he would just be the final boss, really obese. Like when he's like partially through the road rage and he's just like a marble. I was really hoping that would stay, and then it didn't. I was like, damn it! It would have been
What's
so much more funny.
what's interesting in this whole scene though is like there's like three POVs going on. You have Beelzebub's fighting Muniel. During that fight, Muniel ends up damaging the ship, which is causing the power outages. You have Anne is going around basically trying to get control of the situation, and she ends up actually like taking charge and using her like actual princess kind of training to basically take control of the military and convince them like these guys are insane. What are you doing? And then you have Rao and Thief who are taking out Bread in his mech suit. Um, so eventually they all it all accumulates with Muniel roid rages out and they end up defeating him and he gets just basically obliterated out of the station.
Yes.
But the station's starting to go down. And earlier on, there's a point of where they end up getting this like gum that makes you hover slightly before, like for a few minutes
from
before
the Peachy.
Yeah, from the Peachies early on, a nice like little touch. And that's how they get out of the space station because they're like the only way we can get out is to jump. So they all jump out and then they eat the gum right before they hit the ground so that they don't splat. But Anne runs back because Anne the whole time is like concocting this plan that she's been trying to figure out this whole time. And of course, Beelzebub notices that, so he of course uses his gum he eats the gum right away, which at first you're thinking, oh, that's weird. Well, then you find out no, it's because he jumped back in. And he essentially like is going to stop her, but she's like, no, I have a plan. And it's revealed that, well, also because they had to go find the bottles which Muniel ate, and then they got spit out at one point. But when they got spit out, they broke.
Yeah.
And as the space station is collapsing, Lucifer actually comes out and he saves them. Along with
it's Lilith.
Lilith
saves them.
Lilith saves them, and Lucifer shows up after. Because we get the great scene of Anne going, "Hi, Grandpa," and he's like, "Don't ever call me that again."
He's like, "I'm not your grandpa. I am the Demon King."
But we find out though, like Anne actually figures out what the weapon, well, the quote unquote weapon that the Peachy were making was actually the unlimited water source. It was a device that made rain happen, and it basically causes rain to fall. And then they find Muniel again, and Muniel is kind of he's knocked out on the ground. He's like, "Hey, no hard feelings." And then the angels from heaven show up and like, Muniel,
yes,
you're not
hard feelings. Yes, hard feelings.
Yeah, they're like, Muniel, you're not doing very angel-like behavior down here.
It's time to go to jail. No.
And he essentially gets put on like labor for 100 years to make up for all of his misdeeds, and it's like
it was like 1,000 years. Like it was like a long time.
Yeah, but now he doesn't have wings, so he has to do everything by foot. And it's like, don't worry, you only have 99 more years to go, or something like that. Or it was like, you only have like 900 and something hours to go. And he's like, no, basically a great
he's never getting out of here.
Well, it was better than killing him, because killing him would have been the easy way out. Instead, now he's suffering for eternity up there.
Yes, as he should.
But then we get a nice touch where like the king and queen are back in charge of the forest land, and they're like, "Where's Anne?" And it's like, "Oh, she's out doing exploring the world with the gang," and it shows her she's basically there with Rao, and then Rao's also still hanging out with Beelzebub and Thief, and they have their buggy back. The buggy's back.
Yeah.
and they go out on their journey and run into, of course, a sandworm again. But it's
Mhm.
just a nice little ending where you get to see all of the characters again. They're all hanging out, like the swimmers are swimming in the river.
Yeah.
The
Swimmers are doing
swimmers,
what they do. Swimmers best characters,
they
best team.
also showed up in this arc because they were part of the group that helped devise the plan to get in the space station.
Yes.
Also, Anne kisses the fast one on the cheek, and he gets so embarrassed, which I thought was really funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, overall, it ends on a really positive, happy note. Like they discover rain, and everything's safe again. The PG get to see their work actually fully realized. All the villagers are back, and everything is basically good again.
Yep.
Oh, the king also, the king also, when he thinks the Sandland's about to get blown up, the king runs out of his like pool party and trips and falls in the street, which is funny because the king is just comic relief.
Yes. Well, as deserved.
Yeah, that is an incredibly abridged version of Sandland. I could have probably gone into more detail, but we'd be here all day. So I have to ask, what did you think of Sandland?
I loved the first half. Like I loved it. Like the manga half, excellent. I thought it was such a good story. Pacing was really great. Characters were great. Loved it. Second half, not didn't love it. I didn't hate it. Like I did not hate it, but I did
You just
not love it.
you just hated Muniel.
I mean, it's not that it's not even just Muniel. It's just I don't know. It didn't feel like the same
So
story.
I had mentioned this with Matt when we were covering it on Geek Addicts. My whole thing with it was it really Rao and Thief do barely anything in this SAF. Like they're basically there just to be there.
Yeah.
Beelzebub is kind of important, but it's mostly on. And I really like Anne as a character, but it
Yeah.
just you can tell this was clearly written years later by a Toriyama who had a very different mindset on the world by this point.
Yeah.
Because like there are great moments, like we mentioned General Bread. He has a whole redemption arc where he basically, after he gets defeated by Rao and Thief, he runs into Anne and he essentially is like, I understand now, like what we did was bad, and like I know you'll never forgive me, but I want to help. Which is a nice touch. Like he definitely redeemed himself as a character towards the end. And I like that they put him in charge as like the general of the military because they gave him a second chance, which was really nice.
Yeah. No, it definitely had moments, but I would say I personally I like the first half so much better.
The first half is definitely the stronger half.
Yeah.
That goes by super quick. The second half is a little bit slower. I will say I love that the series felt very perfectly bookended. Like the first episode and then the final episode have great moments. Like it starts off with Rao on his own in the buggy, and then it ends with Rao with all his friends in the buggy.
Yes.
Yeah, it's just like it was a great series. I love the music. I love the animation. I love the opening theme and the closing credit themes.
Oh yeah, the opening theme is a bop. Love the opening theme.
It is a very Toriyama feeling story, and I kind of like that it didn't feel like Dragon Ball. It felt like its own thing.
No, and that's definitely a big part of it too. It's like it was nice to see like you could definitely tell it was his work, but it wasn't just like a Dragon Ball copy or a Dragon Ball clone or anything. It was really good.
And I like that the main trio were just such different characters
Yeah,
for a
and
Toriyama
I
story.
think that's also what kind of killed the second half for me because it's like you said, it was more Beelzebub and centric, but I think one of the charms of the show was Beelzebub, Rao, and Thief. Like they just made the show with that unit.
I'm really interested in playing the game because apparently in the game they actually have Anne show up right from the start. So I feel like it might actually be better paced in a lot of ways. I'm gonna have to play it at some point when I have time. It's an action RPG, so it's gonna take a bit. But yeah, I really like Sandland. It was a pleasant surprise, and I guess going now to Zom. Zom was really entertaining. Like that was a
very fun show.
I binged it in a day. Like it was a quick watch. Like it went by really fast, but like it was like every episode I'm like, all right, what happens next? I gotta know.
Yeah. And that was definitely how I watched it too. Where I was like, "Oh, this is so fun! This is so fun! This is so fun!" And I was like, "Oh,
I
I've watched it all."
I loved its music and animation too. It is a very stylized show. Like the animation's pretty clean, but like I love the idea that the zombies' blood is like rainbow
Yeah.
colors. Like that just gives like such a fun stylistic effect to this show, but it also like keeps it from being like super gory because
Mm.
it's gory by default because it's a zombie show, but
Zombies. Yeah.
it's not like absurdly gory,
Yeah.
if that makes sense. Like it is a very the
Oh.
colors kind of off put it, and I think that offset it, I should say. And I feel like that really helps in a lot of ways.
Mm. Agreed.
No, but I gave Sandland I gave like an 8 out of 10. If this is both arcs combined. The first arc I gave a perfect 9 like a 9 out of 10, almost a 10.
No, I would honestly, I would agree. Like I was a little close to giving it a 7 out of 10, but I gave it an 8 because that first half is so good, and the second half it just kind of falls short.
The second half isn't bad. It's just not. It feels like a different show, kind of.
Yeah, I didn't. I lost interest in the second half. I guess like that's what it really comes down to. Is the first half I was hooked every episode. Second half I was like, man, I wasn't as
Yeah,
hooked. I lost interest.
it's a very different product overall, which I think is part of the why it doesn't work as well. But Zom, I gave an 8 as well. Not because I don't think it's great. It's just for me to get a 9, it has to be like really good. And Zom's not finished as far as I can tell. So we're gonna have to see how the second season goes along before I give my full assessment.
Well, and it might have even more seasons too, because technically,
It's an ongoing manga, so
yeah. So no, I think I gave Zom 100 8 out of 10. Usually I give 9 out of 10 something that's like close to a masterpiece, and I think the show is amazing, but I don't think it's like, oh my god, the greatest thing. I love like it was a great show, but it's not like, oh my
yeah.
god, life changing.
Like when I think about animes I've given a 10 out of 10, the only ones I really can think off the top of my head are like Inuyasha, which is just
One Piece.
well, I'm and for you it's a One Piece. For me, another one
What
is
do you
like
mean?
fruit. We have different opinions, Alex. We both give our own
What?
thoughts.
No.
I can't rank something I
No.
haven't. I can't rank something I haven't watched.
Yeah,
That's
you can.
stupid.
You just know it's that good. You just
Um,
know it.
but yeah, I really enjoyed both of these, and I'm looking forward to more Zom 100 in the future. But in the meantime, I have to watch more shows because I don't want to have a tiny list during our recap at the end of the year.
Yeah,
So,
I've definitely been catching up on some too. So it's not just you. It's
yeah.
all of us.
But yeah, so that was fun. I want to do. Hopefully, we'll get a couple more anime swaps in before the end of the year.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah. So that was all for this episode.
Wait, Bill.
What?
Right.
Oh yeah, we didn't talk about Alex being a psychopath in the store. We'll save that for another time.
No. Tell the story, because we'll forget by then. Tell the
Well,
story to close the podcast.
Alex wanted some bread, so we were at a grocery store to buy
Because
bread.
Bill needed to pee.
Well, yeah, but also Alex wanted
Well, I
bread.
was there. Well, I was there, so I was like, well, I might as well get bread.
Yes. So we're in the aisle, and Alex is like looking down at the bread, and she's just going like as a gremlin in the corner, going bread. And I look over and I'm like, Alex, there's a gentleman in the aisle, and he's like got this look on his face, like, what the fuck?
And I didn't really believe you at first, so I still kept going, bread, until the person walked by.
And then she clammed right up and was like, like, oh, yeah.
And then after he left, I continued going, bread.
Yeah. So that happened today.
Bread.
But yeah. Anyways, guys, once again, thanks for joining us on the Gaming and Collecting Podcast.
Bread.
Gaming
It
Collecting
kinda sounds like a
Podcast.
bird.
That's nice. You can find us on all the major podcasting platforms. You can also You can also find us over on the Superpod network of podcasts, featuring a whole bunch of other shows, including.
Don't mute my microphone.
Well, then don't interrupt me while I'm trying to do my ending spiel.
It's my job. I do it every time.
Well, then I'll continue to mute you.
It's in the fine print. You signed the contract. In blood. You signed the contract in blood.
But anyways, so you can find all of the shows over on the Superpod network, including like obviously Superpod Saga, Super Ghost Radio, Retro Rehab, Novel Consoles, The Elder Trolls, Friday Night Gamecast, Gaming Together, Remember 64. I hope a Fine Time. I hope I'm not forgetting anybody. Bar Silence, of course. A whole bunch of great shows over there. You can also find us on YouTube, and you can follow all of our links at linktree/thebarberwhogames, or you can join our Discord server for nonsense. You can see Alex speak like this over there. And with that, everybody, we'll see you all later.
Right.